Step 1. You will need a pH tester. This can be bought from a garden centre. And a trowel. Step 2. Preparing the site. Use the trowel to dig a small hole in an area of soil. Break up and crumble the soil inside the hole. Remove any debris such as stones and twigs. Fill the hole with water to create a muddy pool. You should use rainwater or bottled water, which will have a neutral pH. Tap water may not be perfectly neutral and so may affect the result. Step 3. Taking a reading. Wipe the tester with a tissue or cloth and insert it into the hole. Wait for 60 seconds before taking a reading. pH is usually measured on a scale of 1 to 14. Neutral soil is pH 7. Acidic soil is below 7 and alkaline is above 7. Some testers will have a colour scale rather than numbers. If the tester turns yellow or orange, the soil is acidic. Green represents neutral soil and dark green represents alkaline. Once you know the pH of the soil, you can concentrate on growing plants that will do well in your garden. Done.
You are going to learn about the use of a whirling hygrometer. The whirling hygrometer is also known as a sling psychrometer, and it is mostly used by coating inspectors to record the air temperature, relative humidity, and dew point. The hygrometer is comprised of two thermometers, which has one of the bulbs covered by a wick. The bulb covered by wick is known as a wet bulb, and the uncovered bulb is called the dry bulb. The instrument also has a reservoir. Before start using the hygrometer, a bit of preparation and precautions are needed, and these involve the following. Check that the wet bulb sensor is covered entirely by the wick. Fill the reservoir and saturate the wick of the wet bulb entirely with water. Several minutes may be needed for total saturation of the wick. Avoid touching the wick, because doing so may leave oil or dirt behind. Keep the dry bulb entirely dry. Be ecologically friendly by not whirling the hygrometer in direct sunlight or near the heat source. The correct technique for using a hygrometer is face the wind and hold the handle of hygrometer well away from the body. Whirl the hygrometer rapidly and after 30 seconds stop the motion and quickly read the wet bulb temperature. Go back to whirling the hygrometer for another 10 seconds and then read the wet bulb temperature for the second time. Continue this system of whirling until 3 successive readings are the same or the wet bulb temperature becomes stable. When the temperature stabilizes, read and record first the wet bulb temperature. Next, read and record the dry bulb temperature. While reading the thermometers, keep your body, hands, and any warmer or colder objects as far away as possible from the thermometer bulbs. After the wet and dry bulb temperature is established, a psychrometric table or psychrometer calculator is utilized to ascertain relative humidity and dew point of the air. The psychrometric table needs wet bulb depression value. The wet bulb depression value is the difference between the dry and wet bulb temperatures. Both the dry bulb temperature and wet bulb depression are located on the vertical and horizontal axes, respectively, of the psychrometric tables. The point where the two temperatures cross indicates the relative humidity or dew point.
Two-in-one salinity and temperate meter. It has a dual display with automatic temperature compensation. It has also IP65 waterproof membrane keypad and hold data function. You can switch the units of measurement for both salinity and temperature. To calibrate the meter, soak the electrode into distilled water for 30 minutes to rinse the probe. After 30 minutes, dip the rinsed probe in the EC 1413 solution. Please make sure there is no air bubbles attached on electrode. Swing the probe and air can get rid of the bubble easily. Just repeat procedure for about 5 times. Let the probe stabilize to the solution temperature. Press Cal button more than 2 seconds to begin the calibration. Press up and down to change the value. Then press Set button to confirm the value. ESA will appear on the LCD to indicate the calibration is successfully done.
This lux meter is very simple to use. Just hold the sensor in a horizontal position in the area that you wish to measure. Next, select the measurement range. For low levels of light, select the range up to 2000 lux. For medium levels of light, set the range up to 20,000 lux. Note the measurement will be 10 times the reading on the screen. For very high levels of light, select the range up to 100,000 lux, and the measurement will be 100 times the reading on the screen. Now I'm measuring ambient light in this room, which includes daylight coming in from outside. See, it's currently reading 230 lux. Notice the measurement changing as I move the sensor around and increasing as I get closer to sources of light.
GPS is a navigation system based on 24 satellites that orbit the Earth. Each satellite sends a signal back to the Earth. The GPS unit I have here is a Garmin eTrex 20. First, I've got to turn the GPS on. I'll push this button here, and it takes a little while to load, so we'll just wait. Then the unit will begin searching for satellite signals. The GPS receiver must lock in at least 3 signals to work. The more signals you get, the more accurate your position. When the GPS has at least 3 signals, your latitude and longitude coordinates appear at the top of the screen. In the top right, you can see how accurate your signal is. Here you can see that the signal is accurate to within 3 meters. The GPS has many other useful functions, including a stopwatch, a trip computer page. Now on this trip computer page, you can also see that the GPS has an altimeter. You can see here we're at an elevation of 314 meters above sea level. The GPS also has area measurement, a calculator, alarm, map, compass, and so on. Today I want to focus on marking waypoints, which is simply the location you want to reach. I'm starting here by the Whirinaki River, which is not far from the Whirinaki Forest Park in the North Island of New Zealand. I'm going to mark this point here as my waypoint. Then I'm going to show you how I can get myself lost somewhere in a paddock nearby and then use my GPS to find my way back. Now I'm at my new location. I want to find my way back. So I'm going to go onto the map here, and you can see where I am on the map. Now the GPS will show me how to get back to my waypoint in a straight line. The arrow here shows where I am now, and the straight line shows the location of where I started. And here I am. The GPS has just signaled to me that I've arrived. We're back at the beautiful stream where I began.
If you look at the scales and the label on the clinometer, you'll find that the left says percent and the right says 1 to 66. That means that if we know that we're standing 66 feet away from an object, we can directly use the scales in this clinometer to get the height of an object. So I now take my clinometer, the 1 to 66 clinometer, and I'm going to be looking at the right scales. When I look through the viewfinder, I'll see a left scale that's got a tangent and a right scale that is a conversion to the feet for the height of the tree. So the first thing I'm going to do is look through the scale with both eyes open, and I'm going to look at the right scale and sight the line onto the very top of the tree. So I move the viewfinder to the very top of the tree, keeping both eyes open, and I'm going to read off the number on the right side. That number for this particular tree is about 89. Then I'm going to do the same thing, sighting at the base of the tree. I line up the line with the base of the tree and I get -4. So that's a positive 89 and a -4. Now what I do is I take that 89, the top measurement, and I subtract off the bottom number. Now the bottom number will always be negative if you're on flat ground. So I'm going to take 89 minus a -4. So in other words, 89 plus 4, I get 93 for the total height of this tree. To use the clinometer to measure tree heights, All you're going to need is to check out one clinometer and a logger's tape. Usually those logger's tapes are in imperial units or English units, but make sure when you pick up your tape that it's in feet if you're going to be using a clinometer that has 1 to 66 measurement on it. And in summary, all you need to do is make sure that you sight well on the bottom and the top of the tree, make sure your tape is horizontal, and keep in mind your accuracy is best when you're about as far away from the tree as it is tall.